My number one is Singin' in the Rain from 1952, starring Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, Donald O'Connor. And a quick log line: a silent film star falls for a chorus girl just as he and his delusionally jealous screen partner are trying to make the difficult transition to talking pictures in 1920s Hollywood. I mean, what can be said about Singin' in the Rain that hasn't been said already? In my mind, the best movie musical ever made. Um, I'm sure others might disagree, but I just love this movie. But I think to me, this is my number one because this movie really symbolizes the joy of making movies and the camaraderie that you share in doing so. And everything that we've talked about, faking it, the hardships, not knowing where it's going to come from, how it's going to happen, it's all there in the back. But I think what's in front and dialed up is the joy of doing this, that you can see it from the actors and the characters that I can't believe that I get to do this. And that's why you stay around, despite all the craziness that come with it. And that's why this movie, it's a gift that just keeps giving. It's evergreen, will always be till the end of days. So that's why this is my number one. It's obviously an homage to changing times, which are always happening. There's no other movie that has done that better. But I think the other cool thing about this movie is this juxtaposition of putting larger than life movie stars who are almost untouchable, especially in that era,
right,
and making them sort of look like total normal people who don't know what they're doing. They're figuring it out. And I think that's part of the humor, but that's also sort of kind of commenting on the fact that movies are made by real people, and there's something about the alchemy of all this coming together that leads to that magic. And a lot of that is powered by joy and camaraderie. So I think that's sort of what this movie is insanely funny. Every song is amazing. And last thing I would say is, go Lina Lamont. I just one of the best characters. I mean, everybody's great in the movie, but since the time I have watched this movie, it's always she that struck me. Because if you pull her out, this movie totally falls apart. There's no movie without Lina Lamont, which is sort of the irony of the whole thing, because she's the quote unquote loser.
Right.
But without her, there is no movie. The only acting Oscar nomination is hers from this movie, deservedly so. I can't stand it.
She's great.
So yeah, that's my number one, Singin' in the Rain, another basic choice.
Yeah, I mean, you got to put the basics one in too. I mean, I think if we did an episode like this and didn't talk about either Day for Night or Singin' in the Rain, I think we would have failed our listeners. So I'm glad you put it on here. I definitely would have if you didn't. I also really love this film. I think it's just a fantastic musical, really standout music numbers. Make them laugh, and obviously Singin' in the Rain are two of the best. I first saw this in film school, actually. So it took a while for me to see this. I didn't kind of grow up seeing this, but the second that it did, I'm like, oh my God, this movie just totally blew me away. And yeah, I mean, I think what you mentioned, like technology, I think that's a big part of this film, just sort of showing how much technology can affect the movies. Even to this day, new technologies come and they displace, streaming is one thing that we're kind of going through right now in terms of Hollywood, right? In the last 10 years, that's been the new technology. Now it's displaced certain players, brought in new ones. But it's still we still make great content. I mean, that's all that it is at the end of the day, right? Just making good movies. And I think this movie also does show like how much work it goes into making films, like all of the scenes where they're actually making the movie, and it's not just something that is, as Day for Night, they make it do look kind of glamorous and fun, and this is just kind of like, oh my gosh, like it's like take after take, and they can't get this right, and it seems like not very much fun. And even the people that are making it don't even sometimes seem like they're having a good time.
They don't know what they're doing,
and they don't know what they're doing. Exactly. But at the end of, even though the movie that they put out ends up being successful and good, and they kind of fixed it in the editing, basically to make it a success. So I think that only does say a lot of different things about what it's really like to make movies, and that it's not actually glamorous, and that it is sometimes a pain in the ass. Sometimes you don't know what you're doing, but you can still make great art at the end. So yeah, I mean, kind of like what you said, it's what's what's there to say about Singing in the Rain that hasn't already been said? I mean, this is a classic and will always remain so, and is one of the best films out there, period. Though on this rewatch, I will say, like, the ballet, when that's into the ballet sequences, then it starts kind of losing me a little bit. I usually in musicals, when they have those extended like ballet dance numbers, that's when I start getting a little bit bored, which I did in this time here. But look, that's just the format.
Yeah,
happens.
exactly.
I'm not here for the ballet. I'm here for the songs and the
we've
dance. But
seen it so many times,
yeah,
too, right?
no,
So some of it is that as well. But
yeah.
But can you imagine watching this movie on the big screen when it came out in the 50s? Like,
oh my
what
God.
a joy this would have been. Oh my gosh. But you mentioned this. I didn't mention it earlier. I watched it pretty late too. And again, I think this movie hit me right as I was becoming a cinephile, really appreciating movies, and to kind of watch this movie then and just be poured over in the joy and the love of making movies. It sort of really hit me at that level. And that's why when I think of making movies, it's really your number one and this number one and my number one that sort of come to my mind instantly, because there's like a personal connection of just like, me after watching a whole bunch of French New Wave movies and serious movies that are, must watch movies that taught me a lot and enriched me, but then coming to this after that and just being, just washed over with all the joy, like I said, like that just was amazing. So yeah, that's my number one, Singin' in the Rain.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.